والله غفور رحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين. واعلموا أن فيكم رسول الله لو يطيعكم في كثير من الأمر لعنتم، ولكن الله حبب إليكم الإيمان وزينه في قلوبكم وكره إليكم الكفر والفسوق والعصيان، أولئك هم الراشدون، فضلا من الله ونعمة، والله عليم حكيم. وإن طائفتان من المؤمنين اقتتلوا فأصلحوا بينهما، فإن بغت إحداهما على الأخرى فقاتلوا التي تبغي حتى تفيء إلى أمر الله، فإن فاءت فأصلحوا بينهما بالعدل وأقسطوا، إن الله يحب المقسطين. إنما المؤمنون إخوة فأصلحوا بين أخويكم واتقوا الله لعلكم ترحمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم، ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكن خيرا منهن، ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب، بئس الاسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان، ومن لم يتب فأولئك هم الظالمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن إن بعض الظن إثم، ولا تجسسوا ولا يغتب بعضكم بعضا، أيحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا فكرهتموه، واتقوا الله إن الله تواب رحيم. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا، إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم، إن الله عليم خبير. قالت الأعراب آمنا، قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم، وإن تطيعوا الله ورسوله لا يلتكم من أعمالكم شيئا، إن الله غفور رحيم. إنما المؤمنون الذين آمنوا بالله ورسوله ثم لم يرتابوا وجاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم في سبيل الله، أولئك هم الصادقون. قل أتعلمون الله بدينكم والله يعلم ما في السماوات وما في الأرض، والله بكل شيء عليم. يمنون عليك أن أسلموا، قل لا تمنوا علي إسلامكم، بل الله يمن عليكم أن هداكم للإيمان إن كنتم صادقين. إن الله يعلم غيب السماوات والأرض، والله بصير بما تعملون.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قاف والقرآن المجيد بل عجبوا أن جاءهم منذر منهم فقال الكافرون هذا شيء عجيب أإذا متنا وكنا ترابا ذلك رجع بعيد قد علمنا ما تنقص الأرض منهم وعندنا كتاب حفيظ بل كذبوا بالحق لما جاءهم فهم في أمر مريج أفلم ينظروا إلى السماء فوقهم كيف بنيناها وزيناها وما لها من فروج والأرض مددناها وألقينا فيها رواسي وأنبتنا فيها من كل زوج بهيج تبصرة وذكرى لكل عبد منيب ونزلنا من السماء ماء مباركا فأنبتنا به جنات وحب الحصيد والنخل باسقات لها طلع نضيد رزقا للعباد وأحيينا به بلدة ميتا كذلك الخروج كذبت قبلهم قوم نوح وأصحاب الرس وثمود وعاد وفرعون وإخوان لوط وأصحاب الأيكة وقوم تبع كل كذب الرسل فحق وعيد أفعينا بالخلق الأول بل هم في لبس من خلق جديد ولقد خلقنا الإنسان ونعلم ما توسوس به نفسه ونحن أقرب إليه من حبل الوريد إذ يتلقى المتلقيان عن اليمين وعن الشمال قعيد ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد وجاءت سكرة الموت بالحق ذلك ما كنت منه تحيد ونفخ في الصور ذلك يوم الوعيد وجاءت كل نفس معها سائق وشهيد لقد كنت في غفلة من هذا فكشفنا عنك غطاءك فبصرك اليوم حديد وقال قرينه هذا ما لدي عتيد ألقيا في جهنم كل كفار عنيد مناع للخير معتد مريب الذي جعل مع الله إلها آخر فألقياه في العذاب الشديد قال قرينه ربنا ما أطغيته ولكن كان في ضلال بعيد قال لا تختصموا لدي وقد قدمت إليكم بالوعيد ما يبدل القول لدي وما أنا بظلام للعبيد يوم نقول لجهنم هل امتلأت وتقول هل من مزيد وأزلفت الجنة للمتقين غير بعيد هذا ما توعدون لكل أواب حفيظ من خشي الرحمن بالغيب وجاء بقلب منيب ادخلوها بسلام ذلك يوم الخلود لهم ما يشاءون فيها ولدينا مزيد وكم أهلكنا قبلهم من قرن هم أشد منهم بطشا فنقبوا في البلاد هل من محيص إن في ذلك لذكرى لمن كان له قلب أو ألقى السمع وهو شهيد ولقد خلقنا السماوات والأرض وما بينهما في 6 أيام وما مسنا من لغوب فاصبر على ما يقولون وسبح بحمد ربك قبل طلوع الشمس وقبل الغروب ومن الليل فسبحه وأدبار السجود واستمع يوم ينادي المناد من مكان قريب يوم يسمعون الصيحة بالحق ذلك يوم الخروج إنا نحن نحيي ونميت وإلينا المصير يوم تشقق الأرض عنهم سراعا ذلك حشر علينا يسير نحن أعلم بما يقولون وما أنت عليهم بجبار فذكر بالقرآن من يخاف وعيد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والذاريات ذروا فالحاملات وقرا فالجاريات يسرا فالمقسمات أمرا إنما توعدون لصادق وإن الدين لواقع والسماء ذات الحبك إنكم لفي قول مختلف يؤفك عنه من أفك قتل الخراصون الذين هم في غمرة ساهون يسألون أيان يوم الدين يوم هم على النار يفتنون ذوقوا فتنتكم هذا الذي كنتم به تستعجلون إن المتقين في جنات وعيون آخذين ما آتاهم ربهم إنهم كانوا قبل ذلك محسنين كانوا قليلا من الليل ما يهجعون وبالأسحار هم يستغفرون وفي أموالهم حق للسائل والمحروم وفي الأرض آيات للموقنين وفي أنفسكم أفلا تبصرون وفي السماء رزقكم وما توعدون فورب السماء والأرض إنه لحق مثل ما أنكم تنطقون هل أتاك حديث ضيف إبراهيم المكرمين إذ دخلوا عليه فقالوا سلاما قال سلام قوم منكرون فراغ إلى أهله فجاء بعجل سمين فقربه إليهم قال ألا تأكلون فأوجس منهم خيفة قالوا لا تخف وبشروه بغلام عليم فأقبلت امرأته في صرة فصكت وجهها وقالت عجوز عقيم قالوا كذلك قال ربك إنه هو الحكيم العليم قال فما خطبكم أيها المرسلون قالوا إنا أرسلنا إلى قوم مجرمين لنرسل عليهم حجارة من طين مسومة عند ربك للمسرفين فأخرجنا من كان فيها من المؤمنين فما وجدنا فيها غير بيت من المسلمين وتركنا فيها آية للذين يخافون العذاب الأليم وفي موسى إذ أرسلناه إلى فرعون بسلطان مبين فتولى بركنه وقال ساحر أو مجنون فأخذناه وجنوده فنبذناهم في اليم وهو مليم وفي عاد إذ أرسلنا عليهم الريح العقيم ما تذر من شيء أتت عليه إلا جعلته كالرميم وفي ثمود إذ قيل لهم تمتعوا حتى حين فعتوا عن أمر ربهم فأخذتهم الصاعقة وهم ينظرون فما استطاعوا من قيام وما كانوا منتصرين وقوم نوح من قبل إنهم كانوا قوما فاسقين والسماء بنيناها بأيد وإنا لموسعون والأرض فرشناها فنعم الماهدون ومن كل شيء خلقنا زوجين لعلكم تذكرون ففروا إلى الله إني لكم منه نذير مبين ولا تجعلوا مع الله إلها آخر إني لكم منه نذير مبين كذلك ما أتى الذين من قبلهم من رسول إلا قالوا ساحر أو مجنون أتواصوا به بل هم قوم طاغون فتول عنهم فما أنت بملوم وذكر فإن الذكرى تنفع المؤمنين وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون ما أريد منهم من رزق وما أريد أن يطعمون
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Okay, thank you very much for joining this session. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, we are starting this session on cybersecurity awareness. I want to implore all participants to be attentive, and it's promised to be an exciting session. We have on board a prominent and expert in cybersecurity who has worked across continents, who is highly experienced to dish out today's presentation. So it's going to be highly informative, it's going to be highly educative, and as much as possible, there will also be room for question and answers for those of us that have something that has been in our mind about cybersecurity, about challenges across the internet that we are facing, social engineering. I want to assure you that this is a platform for every one of us to learn and benefit from. So my name is Aminu Saba, and inshallah, I'll be the moderator for today's session. So the session is open, and I'm going to call on one of our brothers by name, Brother Sulaiman Alamutu, to help us with the opening. Brother Sulaiman Alamutu, are you there? Okay. So, Brother Sulaiman Alamutu, can you unmute yourself and help us with the opening prayer?
Now, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of incomparable majesty. I will seek His mercy and blessings on the noble Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his household, companions, and the generality of Muslims. As we begin this session, we ask Allah to grant us all the wisdom to comprehend and utilize all that will be taught by the guest speaker. And we also ask for this knowledge to be beneficial to us all as individuals, collectively, and to Islam worldwide. Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan for that opening session. So, as a brief introduction, a lot of us have had different kind of experiences. Some of us have had our WhatsApp number being hacked, and maybe our family members or our contact have been reached out to for financial support by people we do not know ourselves. So this session, inshallah, will help us to actually understand how we can mitigate and defend ourselves against such attacks. So before we bring in the lecturer, I would like to call on one of our elders here, if he's available, as Alhaji Isiaq Adeboye, to give us a welcome address.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, sir.
So, yes, all protocol duly observed, all existing protocol duly observed. So today's topic is an important topic that is very important to all of us in the current world. Understanding cybersecurity is crucial in today's interconnected world because it protects sensitive information. Also, it prevents financial losses. It maintains trust and ensures national security. So, as a result of this, cybersecurity awareness helps individuals and organizations to recognize and mitigate potential threats like phishing scams and data breaches, safeguarding their digital assets, and so on. So, And we are very happy that we have our eminent lecturer that will do justice to this topic today. So I will appreciate if all of us can devote our time to make sure we benefit this opportunity. With this, I welcome all of us to this program. May Allah make it a fruitful home for us. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khairan Alhaji Isiaq Adeboye for that welcome address. So like we have been aware, there is hardly any one of us here that does not have its own space in the cyber world. Actually, there is nothing we can do without having to use the internet, without having to have an account. We have mobile applications on our phone. All of us are using phones. We have WhatsApp on our phones. So probably everyone now is having two worlds. We have the physical world and we have the virtual world. So for the physical world, we know how to protect us. We lock our doors. We have door at home, right? Some of us have dogs at our houses for security reasons. Some of us have cameras, CCTVs. But in the cyber world, how are we protecting ourselves, right? Because there are two worlds now. So that's what we're going to be learning today, how to protect ourselves, how to defend ourselves. So we have to present the lecture for today an able and capable cybersecurity expert by name Abdulaziz Pedro. Before bringing Abdulaziz Pedro on board, I would like to read a brief of his profile. So Abdulaziz Pedro is a graduate of bachelor's degree in electronic and computer engineering from the Department of Lagos State University. He proceeded to back his master's degree program in information security at the prestigious Royal Holloway University of London. He also attended Harvard University, that's Harvard Executive School, where he backed certificates in executive education on cybersecurity. Abdulaziz has worked as a network and cybersecurity expert in various organizations across Africa, Middle East, and North America. Abdulaziz has held several professional certifications in network and cybersecurity. He is a certified information security manager, CISM. He is an ISO 27001 lead implementer, and is also certified global information assurance certificate expert in strategic planning and policy for cybersecurity. He has garnered over 15 years of international network and cybersecurity experience in the Middle East and North America. He is a vibrant professional with inherent leadership qualities. He had held several leadership positions in schools, that's in the universities, and also in professional communities. He has also mentored several young graduates and has exposed them to international and professional opportunities. More importantly, Abdulaziz likes to simplify security to everyday person. Join me in welcoming Abdulaziz Pedro to this session on cybersecurity awareness, which promises to be exciting. Abdulaziz, you are welcome on board. You can take the floor for your lecture.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair, Saba, for the invite and for the introduction. So am I very audible? Just let me know if I'm very audible.
Yes, you are. You are very audible.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, Alhamdulillah. I mean, it's my pleasure to be with everyone on this webinar today, and it is my hope that we are able to benefit in one way or the other from what we will be discussing today. So let's get right to it. I will try to do it with the formalities and the things so that we can, spend some quality time in, getting one or two things from what I'll be discussing with us today. Now, as a matter of fact, before we get into it, welcome our keynote speaker, and the moderator has rightly told us, cybersecurity, yeah, it's a buzzword. For me, it's a buzzword. And, oftentimes, time and time, we start to see different buzzword, in the right sense to gain people's attention to what is actually happening around it. So today we have AI, we've had cloud computing, and we also had cybersecurity. Why is it important? Like it was said in the intro and in the keynotes address, there are benefits, and because some of us have been victims of people who have taken advantage of the trust factor in the human to human relationship. Some people have taken advantage of people's lack of awareness, probably with respect to how they do their things in the digital space, how they go about their day-to-day functions. So it's very important, and also more importantly, yes, I would assume, to an extent, a lot of us would have heard about cybersecurity. A lot of us would have heard about some of the things I would want to talk about today, like phishing, thereabout. But the question is, why do people still fall victim of these things time and time and time again? And people get to make the same mistakes time and time and time again. So what is missing? I mean, that's something very, very important. Sometimes I know some of us have been able to be very smart when it comes to us getting scam calls of people trying to, uh, talk us into doing a couple of things. But then there are still people out there who fall victim of this. And as a matter of fact, there are technologies or emerging technologies that is making some of these things very, very difficult for us to be able to identify. Now, today, today it's easy for someone to send me an SMS or someone to send me a voice note of myself to maybe my parents. It's very easy today with technology we have out there. So that is why we need to sometimes, I would say, unlearn what we've learned before and relearn new things, because things are changing in our environment. We have new technologies emerging, and hence there is a need to have such engagements like this to be able to get ourselves up to speed, if I can use that statement. So the topic for us today is cyber safe, building a human firewall. See, share my screen. So let me know if my screen is visible. Just let me know.
Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, brother. Okay, so here is our topic for discussion. It's cyber safe, building a human firewall. It's an interesting topic because yes, cyber safety, human firewall, these are like 4 components in this topic. We hear about cyber. Cyber is just more of, your digital ecosystem. This is like today everybody will talk about, it's a digital world. The world is connected. It's just another word for this digital environment, the cyberspace. So there is so much of things out there interconnected, as people would always tell you. But again, what our focus is, how do you ensure your safety in that cyber environment, right? So a lot of us have handheld devices. A lot of us have smart TVs, even smart fridge, smart everything. Now we have an app that can do, we sometimes should call ourselves an app generation. Gone are those days where you have to do things manually, move here and there to get some things done. But today there's almost an application for everything at the tip of your finger on your mobile phone. So it makes us more vulnerable. It makes us more exposed, and it even makes it more difficult for us to identify what is genuine and what is not. Now, the thing we also have to understand is that, we always hear the statement that says the human is the weakest link in most things. I don't want to say in everything. Sometimes you have technology failures that makes things break, but oftentimes the human is the weakest link. It's often what is targeted to have a success for malicious actors to be successful with what they are trying to do. And again, yeah, we'll see firewall in the picture. Yeah, firewall typically is a technology that tries to prevent intrusion, or that tries to prevent unwanted access to your, typically it's used in a enterprise organization where people use it to prevent threat actors, bad traffic from getting into the organization. However, in the context of our conversation today, we are talking about a human firewall, right? Because one thing, like I said earlier, the human is usually the weakest link. So if we are usually, or most cases, the weakest link, how can we ensure? So you might have to say, we need to look at the weakest link and see how do we strengthen that weakest link to make it the best of what it can be. Now, one step in that is always awareness, because you will usually be at the mercy of technology. Like I said, we have smartphones, we use email. So when we interact with this thing, or when we go about our daily life, how do we be that security for ourselves, right? How do we ensure that safety around us? Because like it was said in the keynote, very interesting keynote speech, like, us not ensuring we are a solid human firewall puts a lot of things into jeopardy. It could be ourselves, it could be our financial, status, it could be our family, it could be even our loved ones, close or far relatives. So many things can go wrong. Now, one other things are also that makes this topic very that makes it very, very crucial to us is, we have so much of cybercrime out there today that keeps on increasing, comes in different formats. And the thing is, we always ask ourselves, when is this going to stop? The truth is, it's not going to stop. It is we humans that need to evolve in the way we get ourselves ready to ensure we are not victims of this cybercrime. Now, the truth of the matter is, oftentimes as well, people don't get to report some of this cybersecurity or cybercrime matters, right? Because sometimes out of shame, sometimes out of I've paid the ransom. Let's move on with our life. So it's sometimes very, very difficult to sometimes track the statistics of cybersecurity incidents or cybercrime issues all around. But again, we are not immune. We are part of a digital ecosystem that faces the same issue of cybercrime. And hence, again, to emphasize, the human safety element is very, very important. And like I said earlier, awareness is usually the first self-defense that you have, right? Because sometimes technology would not prevent things getting to you. How you react, how you interact with those things really, really matters a lot. Now, like I said, I talked about some of these things in my introductory statements. Why should you really, really care? Oftentimes you hear statements like, I'm not a celebrity, right? So I cannot be targeted. Yeah, it might be true sometimes. But again, we've seen people that have, we've seen people that have had their, mobile phones or WhatsApp taken over. You don't need to be a celebrity to have your WhatsApp taken over by criminal elements, right? So that thought of I'm not a celebrity, so I cannot be hacked is not something, is not an idea or a mindset that we should have, right? So you sometimes hear of things like my social media is private, right? My social media account is private, so I cannot be compromised. Now, bad news is, even if you have a private social media account, how do you treat your password, right? How do you treat your password? Now, you do have friends, even if your social media is private. Now, the possibility is even with your social media being private, your friend's social media account can be compromised, and then the bad actors get to you that way, right? That's an outlet. So, so many things we could put out there where some people would tell you, yeah, I mean, I shouldn't really bother because my ISP, my media company keeps my data safe. But the truth of the matter is, just last week, we've had an issue of compromise with Facebook, which I think is one of the very popular social media platforms that, a lot of people use. So it's when your social media presence could be compromised, people could use whatever you have online against you. Now, the question now is, do you have that readiness mindset? What is the mindset that you have to ensure that you can navigate that space where all of these things happen? People can go after your money. Imagine you get someone who calls to be your account manager and says, we have so and so, because sometimes, sometimes it's very difficult to be able to disclaim when we get some phone calls. Like today, some of the things we'll talk about is AI. Like I said, I don't know if I've mentioned this. It's easy now to, even for things you've not said, you just need to get a sample of maybe myself. If I've said a few words, you just need to get those samples. There are AI solutions that can help you create, right? That can help you create speech that can be attributed to myself. Recently, I think maybe was it last week or the week before, we a lot of people started sharing on social media the video of the Emir of Qatar speaking and maybe bashing Donald Trump, right? So the question is this: how do such things come up? The same way, yes, it's the Emir of Qatar is a public figure. The same way tools that have made the criminal folks able to do that is the same way they can do it for you, sending your voice to maybe your loved ones or your family, pretending to be you to tell them to do something that could result into financial loss or so many other unwanted things. So the thing is this: we should really, really care. So if you have that mindset that I shouldn't worry about, I don't have a smartphone, for example, maybe I don't have, I often don't use my social media, but you do other things, right? You use a WhatsApp, right? You use WhatsApp. The thing is, how do you even use your WhatsApp? So these are conversations we need to have. What do you even put on social media? What do you put on your WhatsApp? You use AI. How do you use your AI? So the thing is that, the folks or the people who want to take advantage of your weakness or you being a weakling, they have so many tricks up their sleeve. There's so many tricks up their sleeve. So how ready are you? Sometimes some very basic things are just what you need to get yourself prepared, to get yourself ready. All right. I hope everyone is following me so far. I mean,
yes, sir, we are following you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. And please, if I might be too techy in some of my words, if there's any technical word that you can put it in the chat, brother Saba. If there's any technical word I've mentioned and people have difficulties in understanding it, let me know. I will try to simplify it because I know not everyone here will have tech backgrounds, and I've tried to avoid such words, but in any case, if there are words like that, let me know. Now, so yeah, so again, even for us like small business owners, right? I know some of us have businesses. When you are not ready as a business owner with your business outlook in terms of cyber attack, it could also damage trust between you and your customers, right? So imagine someone trying to pose as you, telling your customer that, okay, who wants to buy something from you, that the amount of what they are buying is X, and they should transfer it to this particular account. Yes, you could be able to put out a statement and say, yeah, this is X and X technologies or business. We would not call you to ask you to pay into individual account. But what if someone is creating an account that looks exactly like your business name, but just with some of one or two things different, and again, they are still able to trick that person to pay into your account. So again, like I said, why should you care? You should really, really care, because so many things can go wrong if you are not on guard, right? So moving on. Usually when we hear some of these cybersecurity talks, this is always the favorite. It's like the ABC of cybersecurity. You always have to talk about it. So I've also decided to talk about it as a kind of like an introduction, or like a kind of like a gateway into some of the topics we want to talk about. So oftentimes, some of us have attended cybersecurity awareness sessions. They will tell you about the CIA triad. So it's just a simple foundation for you to have an idea of why should you care, what do you really have that people are interested in, and what do you really care about. So imagine you are having a private conversation with maybe your dad, your kid, or your spouse on WhatsApp, right? So WhatsApp tells you, yeah, that's another thing for another day, or maybe this conversation that works. WhatsApp tells you your conversation is encrypted end to end. Why is this, right? So they are having to try to provide a platform that they say encrypted end to end, because we as humans always want privacy. So that is one of the goals of cybersecurity or security or cyber safety, is that confidentiality is very, very important, such that if I'm having conversation with my friend and I don't want a third eye or a third party to have access to that information, it should be confidential, it should be private. So hence the concept of confidentiality. Now, in terms of integrity, it also matters, right? So if I, as a business owner, is posting on my website or is posting on my social media platform and says, I have this product for sale as 10,000 Naira, for example. Now, my customers should not see that being listed as 100,000. What it means is it's going to drive them away, right? My customers should not see that same thing I posted as 10,000 Naira is listed as 1,000 Naira without me doing a typo. So which means it's going to be a loss for me, because when people start to make that purchase and pay 1,000 Naira for a product that is supposed to be 10,000 Naira, that is a loss, right? So the concept of availability in security is that whatever we want, should be available when we need them. So this concept is really very simple. Imagine how frustrated you would be if you want to make a phone call and there is no signal on your phone, right? Imagine, just picture your frustration at that moment. So imagine someone wants to pay into your bank account for a business transaction, and they say, sorry, we're not able to complete your transaction at this time. So this is the concept of availability. So what it means is whenever you want to use something, that service or that thing should be available at that time. Just a simple intro into cybersecurity world, where it's one of the first things you are being told, right? That this is the reason why cybersecurity or cyber safety is very, very important. These three basic and simple concepts, everyone can relate to it, right? So now, there's always this conversation we usually have, right? So because sometimes people will tell you, security, yes, yeah, these people talk about security, but how should we live our life if you're telling us don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, right? So the truth of the matter is, it's the world we live in, it's the reality that we live in, right? The other thing a lot of us also have to be aware is when it comes to our use of social media platform, because this is also a very core element of being cyber safe, building the concept of the human firewall. What we post online really, really matters. Now, I mentioned this thought of, like, some of us would tell you, when you talk to some people, they will tell you my social media account is private. Now, how private is a social media account, right? So it's just that element of safety that gives you that comfort that, yeah, this is private. Now, the thing is, there has to be a combination of security and privacy to build that human firewall element we're talking about. Now, like I said, if you look at my slide, what I've said here is that strong security makes true privacy possible. When you use social media and you are not conscious of what you post on social media, then, I mean, you might think there is security, you might think you have a private account, but again, we will get to the part where should you really post that thing you are posting on social media? Because if you think, even if you're thinking you're posting to private people, I mean, is it really private? Yes, we might have to do some things on social media to facilitate our daily life, facilitate our transactions and things. But again, we also need to have this in mind, privacy and security, because the truth of the matter is these platforms are not managed by us. Sometimes what they tell us doesn't tend to be what it is. And even sometimes when they tell us, yes, we have this, these social media platforms are sometimes compromised, like we saw in the case of Facebook recently, right? We saw in the case of Facebook, and there is lots of compromise that happen out there almost on a daily basis. The challenge for us, particularly in Nigeria, is oftentimes you don't get to see adequate reporting of some of these issues. That is why you don't get to hear about it. Does not mean it's not happening, right? So, moving on, the human firewall concept. So, I'm sure if you've been following me, you would start to build a picture of what do we really mean by a human firewall. Now, the concept here is that, like I said earlier, firewall is firewall. Some of us have a PC, laptop. You see, like, okay, firewall is not enabled, firewall is enabled, things like that. So some of us would be very familiar with that statement. So a firewall is just a piece of tool or a piece of technology that helps you prevent intrusion into your device, that helps you sometimes, prevent unwanted access to your device, from the technology angle. Now, but from combining human firewall elements, we want to try to mimic that same function a firewall gives you as a human, right? Because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, oftentimes humans are the weakest link. And I'll give an example. So imagine you tell, Brother Saba was talking about, like, yeah, you have a door, you ensure that the door is locked with a lock and key, right? So that uninvited persons or people you don't want to see don't get access to your building. But imagine, like, someone knocks the door, right? And maybe one of your child goes to the door and just opens the door, right? Even though you don't want that door to be opened. Makes sense? That's a kind of like a weak link thing. So you thought you've done your best, or you thought you've put in something in place, but because someone lacks the understanding of if you don't verify who is at the door, then don't open the door. So this is the concept of where human beings are the weakling. Yes, or perhaps maybe he was told, if you don't verify who is at the door, don't open the door, right? But he went to the door and he says, yeah, who is at the door? And the person said, it's me. Or the person talks like, the person speaks to the kid like his dad. And he says, I'm your dad. And for that reason, the kid opens the door, right? And it happens to be maybe something else that we don't want in our house. So this is the reason why even this conversation we are having, it's not just for us alone to be in the know, right? It's for people around us to also be in the know as well. Because at the end of the day, you do not want to be the weak link, right? And you also don't, and which implies that you don't want harm to happen to your loved ones. You don't want harm to happen to people you care about. So which means whatever you know to ensure you're not the weak link, that should also be transferred to your family members, your loved ones, to ensure that they are also, I'll give you a very, some of the solutions we'll talk about is, I mean, we could talk about that here. Like, in some families, one of the things that have been suggested is that you have a family code, right? So that if somebody just calls you, pretend so much to be somebody you know, maybe your son, right? So one of the things you could do is you have a family code amongst yourself. Maybe you could change it monthly, you could change it yearly, that this year the family code is this, right? So that when someone calls you and says, yeah, I am so and so, daddy, please do this, you can ask, okay, what's the family code, right? So what's the family code? Whoever is not, if that person pretends to be your son, because the thing is, when you are on a phone, you don't see the other end of the phone. Who is on the other end of the phone? And trust me, today, don't even give me that. Yes, I can make a video call, right? We've seen video call that have been facilitated by AI. And that video shows us the person you know. And it's not the person you know. So one thing why I've said in my statement is that we really, really need to change some things we know, because things are evolving and things are changing. I mean, we will still get to, when we get to things where what should be those things we should look out for, what should be, our habits when we, try to build that human firewall attributes. So again, technology alone is not enough, right? Technology alone is not enough. A lot of us rely so much on technology, but the truth is that technology often fails. It fails sometimes, and sometimes it fails very, very bad. It feels very, very bad. So imagine for some of us, you have to carry out a transaction and you save your maybe card transaction online. Some of us, you save your password in the website, you save it in your browser. Yeah, it might make life easy for you, but the thing is, when that technology fails, what happens to those personal information, those personal data that you've entered into that technology? So again, the technology is there for you to use, but the way you use it also matters. You use it in a way that when it's compromised, it compromises you. Don't blame the technology. You can put some blame on yourself for using it in a way that once it's compromised, it compromises your identity, your data, and maybe even sensitive details about yourself. Just a minute. Now, sorry, I just needed to take water. Yeah, so we want to talk about some of the threats to us as humans, right? Some of them we've talked about them while we were, doing this introductory statement. There is a lot of issue with SIM swap scams today, right? So, how do people take control of your WhatsApp? It's just a concept called SIM swap, where someone is able to get hold of whatever details you use to authenticate yourself for your WhatsApp number, in that way they get control of your SIM card or your WhatsApp. So, sometimes someone calls you and says, there is a number you just received now. What is that number? So these are some of the challenges we face. Sometimes because we don't use strong passwords on our so-called protected account or devices, the person guesses the password and calls us to give them the number, right? So these are some of the issues we have. And people, this way, they get access into our financial accounts, your bank account, and the like. So this is one of the issues now. And also, sometimes we get this fake job or even investment scheme where someone tells you there is a job in so and so place. You apply for the job, and I've even heard of I heard a very close friend of mine narrated a scenario where someone applied for a job, right? He was able to resume at the job. He paid some money, and he was being used to actually recruit other people to pay to get the job, and they ended up being scammed, right? So these are threats to humans, right? Because this doesn't really need technology to get you scammed. So it's there is this concept that we used to tell people at work, like, if it's too good to be true, then it's not true, right? So I'll repeat myself. If it's too good to be true, then it's not true. So you can use this thing as a kind of like a guide, like a checklist for yourself. Sometimes you see things that says this is an investment opportunity that will give you XYZ returns in so amount of time. When you put that statement as a kind of like when you put that statement to measure what I've just said, it would in most cases give you the answer you're looking for. But if it's too good to be true, then it's not true, because some of the things they will tell you are very, very impossible. So one of the things people will tell you is, like, one of the things we see around is that we've had to deal with, where I work recently, is someone sent an email, right? So which probably goes to the next one. So someone sent an email to people saying, hey, I have I have a piano to give away, right? I have a piano to give away. And for those who know about piano, you know how much it costs. So the person says, I have a piano to give away. If you're interested, please reply to this email, right? So a lot of people read email. So the first thing there is that whoever sent that email is able to confirm, okay, it means this person received the email and responded, right? So here is the trick that was pulled, the first one that was pulled. The person is saying, I want to give away this piano. So the person is not demanding money from you, which is, like, okay, this piano cost, let's say this piano costs 100,000 naira, for example. So the person is not asking you for money, right? So what the person says is, if you are interested in this email, so once you confirm, okay, yes, I'm interested in this email, the next thing you get is, okay, it's good you're interested. We have a courier company that will help you ship the piano to your home address. So please reach out to this phone and or email, tell them you would like to schedule a delivery for the piano. So even though he has not asked you to pay for the piano because he says he's giving it away, you end up paying for the courier, right? So say, for example, you're paying 20,000 naira to courier the so-called piano to your address. So you end up, maybe 100 people end up sending 20,000 to that arbitrary address, a courier person, and off they are gone in the wind. So this is just the human element of them, because humans will abuse the trust that is natural, that naturally tends to be there when we have conversations or when we see messages, right? So these are some of the threats we have today. Some people tell you things that that looks true, but not very true. So how do you make a judgment call on some of these things? I've given us one hint. If it's too good to be true, then it's not true. Sometimes it's one of the things that happens sometimes, like it's our greed, right? Greed sometimes makes us fall for some of these issues when we are supposed to stand guard, when we are supposed to put up our shield against some of these things. So, this is one thing we also need to try to guard against when we see some of these messages. Now, WhatsApp impersonation, sometimes I see lots of very funny messages on WhatsApp. People will tell you MTN is giving out gift cards, click on it to get your gift card. We shouldn't be doing that, by the way. We should know by now that MTN would not send gift cards or messages, and and even sometimes some of us would quickly send messages because it's a cause that we hold dearly in our hearts, right? So, for example, we know what's happening around the world today in the Middle East, and someone will send a message. Yeah, this is a message. This person was talking about this thing. Click on this link to view that video, right? So people are taking advantage of things they know holds dear to our hearts because they know you are going to click on it, right? They know you are going to click on it. So one way is people send you things that they know you will hardly take a step back before you click. So this is one thing, because they know it's something you like. It's a message that interests you. How much time do I have left, Brother Saba?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes. How much time do I have left?
Okay. Maybe the next 5-10 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. So yeah, that's that about link. Clicking on links when we see a link, because sometimes we get those messages, we cannot resist clicking on them, but it ends up being something that compromises ourselves or our devices or our personal identity. Now, artificial intelligence, why is this? People will ask the question, AI is something that is revolutionary, right? It's revolutionary. It's come to make life easy for a lot of us. Now, but the problem is this. AI itself comes with a lot of challenges that people are yet to, the people who invent it are even yet to solve some of them. Yeah, we know maybe a lot of us would only feel, yeah, sometimes AI gives you wrong answers to question. Yeah, that's fine. You want to make it to do research and the things, you need to worry about those. But the problem for us today is AI makes a lot of things easier. It makes us as human targets easy to bring down. Now, case in point is, gone are those days where when you come to cybersecurity awareness sessions like this, they tell you when you receive an email, check for spelling errors or check for grammatical errors. Don't click on the link. Be sure the link is legitimate. Look at the wordings. Look at look at all those things. But now with AI, a malicious intending person would draft a very perfect email. No grammatical errors, no punctuation errors, a very, very perfect email that looks like what is drafted in a professional organization. As a matter of fact, we've seen people use AI to prepare an email that the CEO of an organization would have drafted. So what they did is they took a sample of email for that CEO. Like, this is his tone. This is the tone he writes his email. This is how he starts. So AI makes some of these things very, very easy. So the folks, those bad actors, they drafted an email that would sound exactly like the CEO, and they sent it out, right? So this is the challenge we have with AI now. So the one more reason why we have to be very, very careful for those of us who use AI on WhatsApp, you use AI to mine whatever you have on your WhatsApp. The truth of the matter is that it starts to learn about it because it's a learning language model, right? Whatever you put into it, it learns it and it can be used for something else. It can be used for someone else, right? So, sometimes with the right prompt, a malicious actor could, because sometimes, AI, there's something we call hallucination with AI, right? So like Yoruba will say, kila and so kilongwi and so A on so B, right? So AI does the same thing sometimes. You are asking for A, it's telling you something completely different. And if you follow news like I follow with security happenings, you see issues. There are issues sometimes with the AI where people are even able to get to storage or folders where the AI stores some of its data. So you never say never. You don't be too comfortable when we use some of this technology. Yes, it makes our life easy, right? But what you feed into it matters a lot. So you often will be told, don't put personal things. And even as a matter of fact, what you put online also matters, right? So these are some of the threats we try to expose ourselves to when we post things online, because what you post online, as you will see in the next slide after this, really, really matters a lot. Not just because of the AI age, but also because of your personal safety of yourself and your loved one. Now, with all of that being said, how do we build a strong human firewall to the best that we can be, right? So for what I would say is the first thing is a change in mindset, right? It's a change in mindset. If you want to, you need to have a security-oriented mindset as an individual, and even extend it to your family members as well. The thing is, for example, take a pause before you attend or before you respond to anything. That is a security mindset. It's not just being impulsive. A message is sent to you, for example, like the one of that Qatar emir, because if for people who have a security mindset, you will not forward that message, because when you look at it and you analyze you analyze the A's and B's and C's, you will know that is a fake message. So that is a security mindset. Because if you have forwarded that message, then you don't have a security mindset. I'm sorry to say. That is how you assess yourself. So you receive a message that says MTN is giving away free airtime, and you take it and forward it, or you take it and try to even use that number, you don't have a secure mindset. You don't have that human firewall mindset. So the thing for us is to start with a mindset change. Again, what do you discuss on WhatsApp, right? So when you start to discuss private things, or even you put private things on WhatsApp, you need to think twice, because the truth of the matter is that I was having a conversation with some folks yesterday, and we're talking about, like, does delete mean delete, right? Does delete mean delete on some of these social media platforms, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that when you delete something, it is deleted. That thing that you felt you deleted might still come back, and you'll be surprised, right? So recently, there was a compromise on Facebook, right? And some of the compromised data were data of people who had deleted their Facebook accounts. And by implication, their Facebook messages were also supposed to have been deleted. And so the thing is, you need to think before you click, or you think twice before you post. So this is the security mindset change we need to have, right? So you don't just have to, like, some people, everywhere, that celebrity-like culture where they post their house, they post their food, they post where they go to, they post where they go to vacation, they post everything about themselves. Now, this is not a security mindset. I'm sorry to say. If you are an influencer for maybe a company or a brand or whatever, that's a different conversation to have. But as individual, posting private details about ourselves doesn't help us in the long term. Because what happens is you can be a victim of cyber stalking, where people use your details to build things against you that compromise your identity. So again, the message here is pause before you click, think before you post, pause before you post, right? Because delete does not necessarily mean delete, right? Now, using strong, unique passwords for each of our account. Now, I deliberately left this particular thing here. You know, what we've heard in the past is use strong password, use unique password, even use long password, right? Now, we need to start moving away from elements like password. Now, what I would usually recommend is use passphrases instead of password. So passphrases are usually very longer. They're usually word combinations, and you don't need to memorize. You don't need to write them down, right? But because one of the issues a lot of us have when we are being told to use strong password, right, and unique password, we tend to write like those 16, 20 thing, but we cannot resist that urge of having to write them down, which is where the issue comes. So when we go to passphrases, it's easier to remember, and you don't need to write them down, and you can also make it long, right? So I would have given us a passphrase example, but if I try, I might be giving away my password. So passphrases are things like you use combination of words. For example, I like to go to the market on Sundays because the road is free, right? So that you can use for a password. It is a passphrase, but unless you tell people, nobody would know that is your password. So that is easy to remember by yourself, and you avoid writing it down. So what we advise people is instead of having a strong password, yes, you put that password X, uppercase, lowercase, character, number, blah blah blah, like this. When you have to write it down, then that's no longer a password, right? That's no longer a secure password. Now, one of the things we also should do is when we have password managers, for those of us, yes, we cannot resist the urge of using those uppercase, lowercase, and the things. Try to get password managers where you can store your password that, it's been stored encrypted. Again, don't quote me on this, but again, password managers are things you want to go to avoid writing down your password. Now, the other thing is also passkeys. If you have applications that you use that gives you the option to use passkeys, use passkeys, because passkeys sometimes are often like uses your phone to authenticate your login into your account. So this is something that is also something you can adopt as a practice. Now, the next one is what I know is going to be very, very tough on a lot of us. I would have loved to do it like, okay, ask you, for those of us who use Android, what is the version of Android that you currently have? For those of us using Windows, what is the not just your Windows version, like Windows 10 or Windows 11, what is the patch of Windows that you currently have? That really, really matters a lot, right? So because oftentimes some of us, we don't update the applications or Windows to start with. So Windows have lots of issues. That is why there's something we call Patch Tuesdays in our own field, where Windows releases fixes for issues, right? So those issues, if you don't download and install those updates, there are things that can be used to compromise your device, right? Where people get access to your data, they get access to your browser, compromising your bank account and the likes. Now, the next one here, which is like, again, all these things are mindsets. It's about a mindset change for you to start to do this. Now, the thing is, a lot of us would say, yes, share, put on your hotspot for me. Let me use your hotspot. When you get to a place, do you have Wi-Fi? It's the first thing you are asking, right? So this thing, it's a mindset we need to change, because you are at the mercy of how that Wi-Fi is set up. If it is not a secure Wi-Fi arrangement, then whatever you are sending might be accessible to somebody else. Hence, you are compromising whatever you think you are sending. Right? Some of us, yeah, VPN would usually be something recommended if you have to use a public Wi-Fi. But again, that also, there are other things you need to consider. If you go to a place and you need internet, I would always usually recommend use your mobile data to connect yourself to the internet. Try to avoid going on public Wi-Fi, because you don't know how it is set up. And like I said, we need to remove that mindset of I'm not important to be hacked. You might have something meaningful that somebody needs, and then when you go with this carefree mindset to do things, public Wi-Fi, yeah, there's Wi-Fi here, okay, let's connect. You might be giving away what you shouldn't be giving away. Now, learn to spot scams and fake news. I've just given you the example of the Qatar Emir video that went around recently, and a lot of fake news out there. Sometimes the scams, like I said, it's now even more difficult. So, which means you need to check, double check, and triple check, because with before, like I said, with those email scams or phishing emails, you are being told to look out for spelling mistakes. It's not going to be the case again. So we need to remove that from our head. And because with AI, like I said, you get perfect emails. So you need to analyze the emails you get. I'll give you a very funny example that happened recently. And this was just something that happened to some of our, some of the people I work with on Friday. So there was a phishing email sent by someone asking for a couple details to a staff member. And there was also a LinkedIn profile in that email address. Sorry. So that person's name had a LinkedIn profile that happens to be a fake LinkedIn profile. So this is the extent to which people are go to. So you need to double check things properly. Even sometimes you can consult, when you feel you are confused about what you are seeing. Because sometimes they say 2 heads are better than one. When you consult, sometimes you necessarily would not go wrong. So the message here is those phishing scams are getting more sophisticated. You need to be very, very careful and take extra steps, be extra cautious when you want to action what you receive. Right? So the next one for me is in that mindset change is watch your post on social media, because you leave trails. We'll talk about that in detail in the next slide. Every site you go to, every post you do, every post you like, it's a trail. It's like a digital footprint that you leave out there that people can use to build your likes, your dislikes, your preferences, right? This can be used to build up who you are as a person, right? Again, I'm not telling us not to go to social media. I'm not telling us not to watch. I'm not telling you not to comment, but you need to comment and be sensible, and you need to comment and be careful as well. So you need to watch what you post. You don't want to post things where you want to get a job in future. Somebody goes online to check what you've been doing online on social media, and they say, this is not the kind of person we want to hire for this job. Okay, that's another conversation that is, for another day, on like how do you really engage, do your social media thing. Now, privacy settings, even though sometimes private might not be private, it's important for you to review privacy settings of any application you have. You know, yes, it's difficult to read some of those privacy settings, but you can use AI to review it. I mean, you know, speeches I've given to people now, I always tell them, for me, this is one thing I've seen with AI. Use it to review the privacy settings for that application and see if it's something you want to live with, right? So the next question is, when you want to download an application, do you really need that application? Because you see some application, they ask for your location, they ask for access to your contact, access to your video, access to your files, and access to almost everything. I mean, sometimes you just see that some of these applications are very ridiculous in the access they want to your device. So you ask yourself, when you see such things, do I really need this application, or I can get another application that will not be too intrusive into what it is asking for on my device? Now, going back to the point of what you do online really matters, not just for yourself, but for a job that you want to get in the future, right? What you put online can be used against you. Like I said, delete does not necessarily mean delete. So even if you post something and say, no, I'm applying for a job, let me go and clean up my social media thing. You know, you yourself need to take responsibility of what you do online. You know, what you like online, like I said earlier, what you post, the videos you post, you know, the comments you make. These are key things, like I said, that are digital footprints of yourself and can be used to build a profile of who you look like. And also, when we post photos online, you know, photos have location tags. Sometimes photos have personal details of ourselves. You need to be very careful with, again, one reason why you also need to be careful of what you post online. Again, you know, the last thing here is that people can piece your life together with what you post online. So more reason why, and that thing can be used against you. So we've seen cases of people with videos being posted online where they know that this is the daycare this person puts his kid in, and they were able to they wanted to go to that school to try to get that kid away from the daycare. So it can be overemphasized. It's about the mindset change. Much more is that what you post online can be used against you. And even now, you know, when you even go to apply for, you know, visa in the embassy, they would do some of these social media checks against you, and you know, you can't be refused or granted the visa, as the case may be. Now, this one is like, it's just about reporting, not very important for us here. You know, take the lead, be cyber smart, you know, start cybersecurity conversations with your loved ones, friends, and family. Like I said, in your family, you can have a family code for the month, a family code for the year, right? I'll give you an example. I think it was in Formula One. So somebody called and one of the staffs and says, hey, I'm the CEO, and I need you to approve this transaction. You know, imagine somebody calling and says he's a CEO, and you know, to somebody who's a financial officer in the company. And this was real, by the way. This is not something I'm making up. I believe it was Formula One. No, it was Ferrari. So what happened is that, so the employer, and this is why we need to be smart. So the employer asked the person claiming to be the CEO, what was the name of the book you asked us to read last month? So what happens is, in that organization, the CEO, when he talks to the employer, he usually tells them, okay, this is our book for the month. And so the scammer, the person trying to claim to be the CEO, he doesn't have the answer to that question, and hence the person dropped off. So we've also seen a scenario where that transaction, that scam actually went through because the so-called CEO came on a video call, and that video call was an AI facilitated call. So again, the bottom line here is this: let's start cybersecurity conversations, you know, cyber safe conversations with our friends, with our family, especially with families. You pick your family code, let everybody know it, and sometimes if you need to verify if it is that person that is really talking, ask for the family code. So share tips, not just warning. So I believe that's what we've done here today. Not just to create that doom world. Yeah, everything is going to crash down. Yeah, there are bad guys everywhere. No, let's share tips with ourselves on how to be safe. It's also very, very important. So being cyber safe, it protects our community as well. Because imagine you have friends, and because they are not aware, they get scammed, they lose money. It can sometimes affect yourself as well. So yeah. So this is my talk for today. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you gained one or two things from it. I hope I was not boring, and I'll be happy to have your questions here. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
Jazakumullah khairan for that session. Thought-provoking, entirely informative and educative. We really appreciate that, and we're glad to bless your knowledge. Jazakallah khairan. So we'll just go to the question and answer session. We'll go to the question and answer session because of time. So I'll start with the first question, and that is from Kazim Lawal. So he said, is there anything wrong in a mother giving her children a password so that they can use her phone for their homework and playing games?
Well, I would not recommend that because your child can give away your password. Kids are very innocent. So, I wouldn't recommend that. The mother should be there when the kid is about to do the homework. And if they really have to do the homework on the phone, unlock it for them and supervise them while they are doing that homework, because that's very, very important, because, sometimes these days, kids cannot really control content that pop up online. Sometimes you are browsing a website and you get content that you don't like, right? You don't get content, you get content you don't like. So as an adult, you are able to navigate away from it. But when you leave kids by themselves on digital devices, that is not wise. That is not smart, on the part of the mother. So for mothers, when you give your kids your devices, you don't need to give them the password. You have to unlock it for them and supervise them through that session. Now, one of the things I would advise is there are things we can do, not just to leave our kids. You can have extra add-ons that prevent unwanted website from popping up on your browsing sessions, right? So you can also put settings, age-appropriate settings on some of your devices that, okay, even though you have to unlock the device for the kid, it can also help to an extent to minimize the kind of content that your child gets when they are online. Wallahu alam.
Jazakumullah khair. We have two answers, Brother Tajuddin and Brother Shamsuddin Odu. So I just want to implore you to just be patient a bit. Let's go through some of the questions on the chat, because the questions came in earlier. So this next question is, if I click a phishing link, what should I do immediately as a damage control?
Yeah.
So maybe a brief explanation of phishing link. Phishing link is a link in an email that is meant to deceive you to get one or two information so that you can get your data. That's the simple definition of a phishing link. For those of us that might not know what it means.
Okay. So maybe more context is required. Now, you clicking on a phishing link in some cases does not directly compromise yourself, right? Yes, in some cases it directly initiates actions that will compromise your device. So context is important. So if it's a link that you feel must have executed devices, something on your device, right? If that is so, because now we have ClickFix. ClickFix is something that is out there. ClickFix. This is a major way where people are transmitting ransomware to users, right? So you do the hard work for these folks. So if it's something like a ClickFix where when you click on the link, it downloads and executes by itself. What I would recommend at that instance is to shut down that device and format that device as a whole. This is in this scenario, right? In this scenario where you have something like a click fix, when you realize it, because you might not, antivirus, it's good to have, but we need to go to where we are talking about anti-malware, right? So this is another hygiene element of us, on our device. Antivirus is old school. Anti-malware or anti-ransomware is what you need to be looking at. Now, if it's just a phishing link that takes you to a website and says enter your device detail, that one you just simply close the link and ensure that you check links before you do them. But if it's hasn't done much that, because sometimes there are different levels of some of this phishing. If it's something that executes a ransomware on your device, at that instance, it's very, very tough because your device would even have been encrypted at that point. But if it's something you feel something is executing, try to format that device, proper format, which means you should also try to ensure you have your backup. Regular backup of important files should be kept somewhere outside of our devices.
Okay, now, Jazakumullah khairan. So let's take one more question before we go to the platform. That's Brother Tajuddin. So the question here is, in a situation where you are a co-signatory of a bank account in an organization, and you have a considerable strong firewall, but not sure of other colleagues' vulnerability, how do you ensure that unauthorized access is not compromised through the other weak access or windows, meaning that the other signatories that are not having strong firewall?
Okay, so if you are usually, so if we're talking about the human firewall element, what I would suggest is you should always have conversations with each other. Since for you to be co-signatories, it means you have a common interest. Right? You have a common interest. So what it means is you need to have conversations about cyber safety, cyber security amongst yourself, and that way you can start to build that mindset change and build that habit among yourself. Now, the next thing is, yes, I know with a lot of the banks, it's like 2 to sign, 1 to 3 to sign, or all to sign like that. So ensure that it's not just one person can authorize a transaction. So what it will mean that if you are the one that is cyber that have that awareness, which means if the other person initiates a transaction, you will be the one to approve for the transaction to go through. So which is like a kind of like a 2-factor or a multi-factor thing, which reminds me of something I was supposed to mention in the topic, but we can always get to that. So yes, always have this conversation among yourself. Since you have a common interest, you are both signatories to a bank account, means you have a common interest, like I said, and don't make it 1 to sign, make it 2 to sign to complete a transaction.
Okay, thank
I
you.
hope I answered that question.
Yeah, that's fine. One, you mentioned awareness. You should have the conversation. Then number 2, they should do multi-factor strategy, multi-factor authentication strategy. Thanks. So I have Brother Ogunbono Tajuddin. Brother Ogunbono Tajuddin, can you go ahead with your question?
Okay, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Now, in a case I want to get a software, maybe for business, and I know that it can't go for free like that, and it's not that cheap like that. But to get cracked one, so easy, and I'll just go easily. Where the problem now comes is, at times you will need to get it if you need it urgently. But if you use it, you have to go to the antivirus area to open the manage setting virus and open the real-time protection. Where I was confused was when I came to our school, we want to install their software. It got to a point we couldn't use it until, because we didn't go to their, they said we should not bother, we should go online. They gave us the link and we did everything. So until we have to open the real-time protection under the virus and protection threat. So that is where the problem is. Is it that at times it is safe or at times it's not safe? So how do you know which one is safe? So that is where the problem is. So two things I'm saying there. One, because of financial constraint, you have to go for cracked one. So then you have to open the antivirus place before you can go, because the fire will not allow it. Then second one, an organization like WAHEC allow you to do that, but the software, you have to open the virus before you do it. How do you manage things like this?
Okay, thank you, brother Tajuddin. Yes, as much as I understand the Nigerian factor in softwares, it is a bad habit to go put a cracked software on our devices. It actually opens endless possibilities to compromise our devices. I mean, endless possibilities to get that device compromised, right? So I'll tell you a couple of reasons why having a cracked software is a bad idea. Now, number one, I talked about Microsoft Windows having to release fixes to issues on their software on a regular basis, right? So what happens is when you have a cracked software, now there are two things. A cracked software would have modified some properties in that software. Now, when there is an update to that software, you will not get it because usually the license means the copy you have is signed, right? So you will not get fixes to those issues that has been identified, and you can get compromised because of that. Now, the financial factor in case, in points, yes, I understand it, you know, but when you understand what can go wrong, when you understand what can go wrong, you would understand that it's better to have a paid version of a software than having a crack on. Now, the case of WAEC, I mean, in terms of technical detail, they might have an explanation for why they did that. You know, I may not be able to comment in detail because sometimes you need to see, it might be a function of how the application was built. And I mean, I need to see it. I'm sorry in that regards, but you know, if you really want to use a cracked software, one option I would suggest that you do is this. Do not put it on your personal device that you have your valuable items on. Right? If you really feel you have to use it, what you can do is that you can have a virtual, like we have like something called Oracle VirtualBox, or a VMware, like a VMware, what do we call it?
Platform.
Yeah, you can have a VMware emulator on your laptop. So what it means is that you are not actually you will not install this software directly in your laptop. So for example, with an Oracle VirtualBox, you can spring up a Windows inside of the Oracle VirtualBox, right? And you know, spring it up, you know, install that license on it and use it from there if you really have to use it. But you need to have it in mind that from that kind of an environment, you should not be accessing anything that will go to your personal or individual account or anything personally to yourself. So why I'm suggesting that approach, I don't recommend you ever get a cracked software in your device. But what that gives you is that if anything happens to that software inside of that virtualized environment, you can simply just delete that virtual environment. Again, it's not a foolproof. So I do not recommend you even install it because you might not necessarily have the technical know-how to manage the outcome that happens if that software that you have is compromised?
No, Jazakumullah khairan. So crack software is not encouraged. It's compromised our systems, personal information on our devices. And in the case of WAHEG, I have to reach out to WAHEG cyber team to get further clarification.
On why they are having to go
why they
use
are
that approach.
model. Exactly.
That approach, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't mean that it's a crack.
It's the right approach, yeah.
Thank you. So I'll give the floor to Brother Shamsuddin Udu right now. You can unmute yourself, Shamsuddin. Sorry, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Okay, so I want to thank Pedro for that beautiful presentation. Mine is more of addition. Something struck my mind while during this presentation, and that is, the security mindset. It is very key based on what you have said. Let me give you a scenario. Like in my office, I work as a cybersecurity engineer. On a monthly basis, we do cybersecurity awareness, but yet people fail to take it to be serious. And it's because of what? Mindset. So at the end of the day, what an idea was, okay, to make them to be more serious with this awareness. And now attach something like quiz. After each month, I will send the communication, send quiz, and I'll give money to winners. Yet, some people still find it difficult to take it very serious. So, like he said, mindset is key. If the mindset is not there, with what you have said so far, people say, I beg, I can't keep myself there. Like he said, I'm not important, I'm not a social media person, I'm not an influencer. But the message should be that even to our children, to our family at home, we have to bring that mindset, that security mindset is very key if you want to build a human fire. Thanks so much.
Okay, Jazakumullah khairan, Brother Shamsuddin, for that contribution. That is highly appreciated. So I want to appreciate everyone that has also attended, asked questions. I also want to appreciate the lecturers. We'll go to the next version of the program, which is closing remarks, and that will be done by Kazim Lawal, aka Aisha.
Now, assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
Is this your cybersecurity version of voice or IT or ICANN? One cybersecurity version.
No, if it's cybersecurity version, then I need to clone it and use an AI version of myself. Okay, so first and foremost, I want to thank Alhaji Malam. I don't know what else to put as preface to Mr. Abdul Hafiz Pedro for that fantastic presentation. We really appreciate. And just to mention that for us on this platform, what we did was that we did some survey like a year ago to survey what are the gaps amongst the professionals around us. And one of the critical one that we found out was this particular one, which is the cybersecurity awareness. And we did not localize our efforts in terms of bringing people to help us deal this. We went far, and we went to the global world to go and bring one of our very competent brother, Malam Abdul Hafiz Pedro, which we appreciate the presentation so much. We appreciate your time. I know people like you are paid per hour, and I cannot guess how much dollars or pounds they are getting paid for stuff like this. So we really appreciate for that. And to Alhaji Sabah too for facilitating this session. I want to say a big thank you, and to the entire leadership that back this exercise. I think the wrapping or the closing remark I'll just mention is all of these things that we are being told, don't see it as something far away from you. We wake up, we sleep with this risk. I was sharing with some of my brothers yesterday that I received an email that my Netflix account was going to expire and my card failed to activate my subscription. Honestly, I clicked that link because I was just looking at it. I clicked it. After clicking, and I realized, and asked me your first name, your last name, your PIN, your blah. Okay. So I started feeling you're a bastard, you're this and that and all of that. But the point here is that the point here is that we cannot fall victim of this. If you read the reports in Nigeria, banks have been falling victim of this and they have been paying heavily. And when we are saying heavily, we are not talking about 10,000 naira, we're talking about hundreds of millions of naira that they have to part away with because of this bad actor. So let's stay very conscious. Let's stay aware. And for husband and wives and our children as well, when I heard about the family code, that really triggered some level of awareness in me to say, oh, maybe I should even try this with my kids. And to our own and our mothers, stop giving your kids your password and stop giving them your phones and giving them all the access on your phone. It must be supervised usage by means that you must stay with them and you must be the one to log in. Our kids are very smart. They will stay across your shoulder and get your password. They know the way. Umu just type 111. They will know it and they know your password for a fact. So we need to be smart. We need to be careful. We need to guard ourselves. Stealing our money is even a lesser thing. What about blackmail? Do you understand? People can blackmail you and make you look horrible. People see you on the street, you look so very sick. You'll be begging for money. People will be thinking you're taking drugs, whereas somebody is threatening to blackmail you. So I'm just saying all of this for us to say, the people that have come to tell us this, like Alhaji Abdulaziz Pedro that has come to tell us this, it's not like he doesn't have something to do, right? He has prioritized our safety and our cyber health and cyber well-being to come and do this for us. So please, let's take it very seriously and let's continue to keep ourselves safe. Once again, I want to thank Alhaji Abdulaziz and the entire team behind this. I want to see Jazakumullah while we continue to learn and use this. Thank you so much, everyone. Alhaji Saba, back.
Now, Jazakumullah khairan, Alhaji Kazim. Thanks for that. We're in a cybersecurity session. I have dished out all Abdulaziz profile. You call him Alhaji, you call him Mr. And we have been taught CIA. Okay, thank you very much. Really appreciate that closing remarks. So, Jazakumullah khairan to all attendees. We have come to the end of this session. We round off by reciting Surah Al-Fatiha as a closing prayer. And after that, this session has been declared closed. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah.
الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين
آمين. جزاكم الله خيرا كثيرا. عبد العزيز جزاكم الله خيرا.
آمين. السلام عليكم.